So we have started every session today with a 1 out of 10 to how much do you know about synonyms and antonyms. And because I think everyone will understand it once you've got the gist of it. But I think it's one of them ones where in English, it's like for me, if somebody gives me a language technique and I know what the example is, I don't know what it's called. So instead of asking you, what do you know about synonyms and antonyms, I'm going to go straight into it. We've got some activities and then we'll go from there. So the session objectives are to understand the definition of synonyms and antonyms and to recognise the difference between the both, to increase our range of vocabulary and use the use of alternative words, and to obviously improve dictionary and thesaurus skills should we need it. So what are synonyms? Does anyone want to jump in and take their mic off and be brave? All right, in the chat function. No? So synonyms are different words with a similar meaning and can be part of any speech. So that could be verbal, that could be written. So if you go for an example, you've got your nouns, your verbs, adjectives, and your adverbs. So an example of it is the word will be confused and we want a different word to have the same meaning. So you've got muddled, puzzled, and addled. And then you've got, I've chosen another word. So I've got love, with obviously a different word, but with the same meaning. Affection, desire, and lust. So why is using synonyms effective in writing? And more so, why do we push it within the level 2/level 1 functional skills? So using synonyms gives us a numerous of ways to say things. It makes the language in your writing more interesting and skillful. So if you do start off with basic writing, basic words, and you're just telling me, say, a story, your synonyms starts to boost that level of writing. So that's where your complexity comes in, and your examiner, for instance, will look at that and think, oh, actually, they've used this technique here and they've used this synonym here. So they're not necessarily using the same word over and over again, because it will get boring in your text. So an example of this, Bianca is very angry at her dog chewing the post. So if you change it around and you're using the same sentence, Bianca is furious at her dog chewing the post. It gives you a bit of a exaggerated sentence after you've changed that same word. Okay, so an activity, which is what I want you to do. You can write them in the chat, you can come off mute and you can give me a shout, or you can tell Paul and the team can pick them up. So Mohammed walked up the noisy stairs into the attic. The key to the old door was disgustingly muddy. The key was actually dug up from the garden earlier the same day. The lock made a clunk as he turned the key and the door creaked. Mohammed slowly pushed it open. It was cold and dark in the attic. He could not believe what he saw between the flashes of thunder from the angry storm. So if you're working at level 1, I want you just to choose 3 words out there in red and give me a different word for that same word. And if you are working at level 2, a different word for each of them, and just throw them in the chat function. So I can see we've got noisy and creaky, fantastic. Noisy and loud, muddy and dirty, noisy and loud, brilliant. Do we have any more? Creaked and is that moaned? Perfect. Dug and excavated. Fantastic. So the gist of it is just looking at that word and just changing it around. So you could use that word 10 times over, but with 10 different words in the same text. Angry and violent, brilliant. Noisy, boisterous, fantastic. So as soon as you start picking up these little techniques, it will start moving you from that level 1 into the level 2 criteria. Super, we'll move on. So moving on from synonyms, what are antonyms? Antonym is the opposite meaning of a word. So an example of this is you've got narrow to start off with. And then you've got wide, broad, and open. And then another example is strong. I think Louise has just come in with wide, fantastic, yeah. Weak, perfect. Have you seen this PowerPoint before, Louise? Fragile and shaky. No. So it's the word, but the opposite meaning of that word. So again, if you wanted to say something in your text, you bring it into your text, but you reverse it. So you're saying the opposite of what the word is in your writing. And again, once you've picked up that technique and you're moving from your level 1, it will push you into level 2 very, very easily. So why using antonyms is effective in writing? So using antonyms gives us a variety of ways to use a word which means the opposite. The study of antonyms will not help you choose the most appropriate word as you write. However, it will sharpen your overall sense of language. So sometimes you might find where you'll write the word that means the opposite, but as you're reading your writing, it might not fit in correctly. So just go over it and have a look. So you've got your thesauruses, you've got your dictionaries, have them next to you when you are doing your writing, and eventually your vocab will start picking up and you won't even need to look at your dictionaries. You'll move away from them completely. And it'll make your context read a lot better. Antonyms will also enhance your writing skills and use of language which will support your writing become exciting, skillful, and finally grabbing the reader's attention. The last thing you want to do is write a piece of text and for the reader to get bored after the first few sentences. So always try to grab the reader's attention with your headline, with your subheading, with your first opening sentence, and then start weaving your synonyms and your acronyms in. Now, bear in mind, don't go overboard with so many synonyms that the reader just doesn't understand the sentence or the paragraph. So a few at a time, it will make your writing exciting. And if you need your tutors, myself, Sam, Paul, to read your writing as you're starting to use this method, by all means, send them over and we can give you some feedback on that. So, examples of antonyms. We can use the following titles to understand British values by converting the keywords into antonyms. So I've started off with democracy and I've converted it into dictatorship, individual liberty, which I've converted into captivity and slavery, a rule of law, which is your anarchy, and mutual respect / tolerance is contempt and disrespect. Now, the reason that I've chose the British values in essence is it is wide, it's broad, it's national. We need to obviously keep up to date with them as well. So with the delivery of our sessions, I've weaved them in today. So it gives you a bit of an understanding. Now, if you want me to go into depth with them, give me a shout afterwards and I'm more than happy to go through them with you individually. And if you think you're okay with them, that's perfect. So there you have antonyms. So for each of these, again, level 1, if you want to choose 2 or 3 of the next few that I put through in the chat, say if you want to type them in, and level 2 if you want to use all of them and give me an opposite for each. So you've got large, noise, ugly, easy, young, and stupid. So we've got Louise, we've got small and tiny, fantastic, quiet, pretty, hard is obviously your opposite of easy, old of your young, intelligent, very good, smart, opposite of stupid. Do we have any more for stupid or even large? Smart, fantastic. Any more? Gifted, oh, I like that. That's a good one. Minuscule, small, silent, beautiful, difficult, old, and intelligent. Perfect. So you've all got the grasp of what it actually means. So your synonyms and your antonyms. So you're probably already doing them on a day-to-day basis. You have the understanding. You're actually using the words, but it's just knowing what the words reflect on. So what the word actually is. So we've got Ronke saying ugly, beautiful, and good-looking. Perfect. Super. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the session. You should be able to. Stupid and prudent. Oh, I like that one. That's a really good one. So again, start to use them in your text. So if you do write text and think, I need a different word for this, use your dictionary or your thesauruses and use different words as you go along. And if you need any of us to mark them, send them across and we'll mark your word and we'll pick up the synonyms and the antonyms that you have used. So well done for them. Okay, so your session objectives are to what you should have learned in today's session. So you should be able to recognize synonyms and antonyms. So if I do ask you on a one-to-one basis, what is a synonym? You should be able to give me an answer with antonyms as well. You should be able to confidently use a wide range of vocabulary. So what I would suggest is if you wanted just to pick up a handful of words that you know you do use regular and write them on little cards. So I've got little smart cards, just like this, a little book. So you've got like a smart card and you can have them next to you as you're writing, as your own little dictionary in essence. And if you do use a dictionary afterwards, you can keep adding to your dictionary, and it will again broaden your own vocabulary. And also to be able to replace words to make your writing read more interesting, because that's what the aim is. So if you're at level 1, you can start using the same technique, a few words here and there, so up to 3 words I would say, in synonyms and antonyms in your writing. And if you're at level 2, there should be a lot more than that, so we can see the complexity in your writing. Do we have any questions?